so I'm a child of modernity, and I grew up with a lot of like American Walt Disney movie, which depicted life as a form of the American dream. Like it's hard and then it's all good and it's good and it's good and it's good.
And better.
Yeah, and it gives you a delusional sense of life. And then there's a picture of the superhero that comes and saves the day, and it's individuals that save the day. It's not like a group of people who like talk their differences and do a lot of beginning anew, and like they're like very simplified narrative, and we've swam in them, and it create in French you say biaisé. It creates a bias or a distorted view of reality and distorted expectation. And I think the sense of cynical that we just mentioned is also due of that, is because in my personal journey, a whole part of growing up was to deal with the sense of disappointment, because I thought that life was supposed to happen a certain way from the media and the narrative I was given. And I think it's in reclaiming a different narrative, which is saying there is difficulty and there is light and liberation and solace when you embrace the difficulty on the other side. Life is not about trying to not have problems or not have difficulties. But most of the depiction of what people tell you is all they're trying to do is get rid of problems. Right? It's like, oh, I want to get rid of problems. But one thing is, you don't want to have problem be dead. Dead people don't have problems.
Yes.
And therefore, problems are an opportunity to growth. Now, if they're too big, if like it's just like, then they become a trauma, and there's no growth in that. It's like a reverse. And so now I want to kind of talk a little bit about the difficulty and the joy and the beauty of them.
Community as well.
In community. And so one, well, I'll talk from my personal experience is, funny enough, my Chinese name is Xi Wei, which means wild rose of hope. So there's no way you'll put the hope down out of me. But in the hope, there was parts that were very also delusional, because I think for many people who want to create an alternative, or many activists, are you activist or are you a reactivist? Are you trying to? It's often because you're trying to. You see that the perception is something's broken and something needs to be repaired. And that therefore comes from a wound and not from just a possibility. It comes from fixing. And so it's first, like for me in my personal journey, is to see that my action was not coming just from a joy, was coming from a hurt. And if my action come from a hurt, what do I cause? Hurt. Or what do I see? More hurt. Because I'm not in accepting my past. I'm not in accepting myself and the world and people as they are. And so I think living in community is a massive mirror exercise. Like you just, with lots of reflection, and and if there's not a lot of like love and acceptance, it creates that you think you're seeing a horrible picture, right? And it for me was also what I found fascinating in what we were doing. I was like, it's a bit crazy what we're doing, because most people who live together, they came from the same family, or they knew themselves since childhood. They had the same religion. They knew themselves since the diaper. They knew all the family history. There was a strong sense of trust. So you didn't have to verbalize things. You just knew people deeply. And now I'm trying to live with a guy that I don't know very well, that I might not, I think I share the same value, but probably we don't, because we come from different originating culture. and I'm trying to engineer something that is supposedly very natural, guess what? It's going to probably not work. And the key is accept that it's not going to work, that it's not supposed to work in a way, because it will take time. It's like we've gone super individual, now wanting to rediscover or be collective ain't going to work from the first go. And so it's accepting that we're modern individualist animals.
At least in the West.
At least in the West, you know, it's not
Taiwan, it's different, maybe.
Yeah. But I'm talking about the cultural context of Europe here.
Or
that
the US.
I don't know the US that much, but we're, at least in Europe, like you're an individualist modernist animal. You're used to having your private space and you're used to questioning everything. And if you're going to be in a collective, you can't spend your time questioning everything because it's just exhausting, right?
Along with our website at portalsofperception.org, Portals is also available on YouTube and on all podcast platforms, as well as social media. You can become an active member and join the conversation in community events. And you can help us get the word out by liking this content and by sharing it with your friends.